Good evening. How are we doing? Grab your sparkling water, or in this case tonight, an alcohol-free beer. I must say, at 76 calories for a whole bottle, that hits the spot. You know, like post-dinner. So, good evening, Ali. Grab your alcohol-free beer, 76 calorie beer. Not bad at all, I must say. Fizzy, fills you up, hits the spot. Feels like, if I'm honest, I'm having something pretty cheeky, but I'm actually not. The little hacks. And I want to speak to you tonight about something that is quite interesting. So I'm just going to add something that happened today. It was today. Today's been a long day. Early start today. Someone asked me what time I get up. Normally around 4:45, by the way. And something that I wanted to talk into is with regards to hot drinks. Are hot drinks okay? And I will go over that. Give me a hello if you're coming in anyway. Put a 1 in the comments if you can hear me okay. Hey Claire. Hey Sarah, how's your week going so far? What's working well? What's not working well? Any questions that you've got tonight, bring them in. We've got a few questions so far on hot drinks, creatine, alcohol-free beer, which is all good, by the way, as I'm drinking right now. Hey Julie, how are we doing? Perfect, you can all hear me okay. By the way, if you accessed the self-sabotage worksheet like dead early, you might have noticed it opened up something else. It was a comfort eating book. Nothing crazy. I said something else there. It's like it was something that you shouldn't see. It was just a comfort eating book, which is still probably useful, to be fair, in many cases. However, that's now updated, so you should be able, that should open all good. Now, so I'm just going to invite a few people in, and we are then ready to rock. If you've got any questions, let me know your biggest take home so far today. How did you find today? Sleep, self-sabotage. What is your one thing today? I almost expect kind of less people to be in tonight, given that tonight is about today's task is about sleep and self-sabotage. So maybe you're actually applying what we talk about, which is good. So day 4 Q&A live, and we are ready to rock. So let's rock and roll. So I feel like Claire was there. Rebecca, how are we doing? So okay, cool. Let's delve into the question. I feel I'm coming out of hibernation after the sessions this week. Perfect. Good work. Yeah, and tomorrow's session, the workout, how's the muscles feeling? Hey Melanie, tomorrow's session we step it up a little bit. In terms of the glutes, it is glute, the lazy bum 3.0 tomorrow. So you might remember the lazy bum from Monday. It's 3.0. And remember, always go at your pace, number 1. If you can't do that workout, do number 2. There's always adapted around you. That's the key thing, whether you do upper body, lower body. We've done it this week, no floor, knee friendly. You've got a bit of everything this week. That's what we do at Fruity Fit. That's how we give you that variation to make sure you can always adapt it and it's always your pace. Hey Sarah, how are we doing? So let's delve into the question. So the first question was on hot drinks. Okay, are hot drinks okay? Now my answer is always yes. Hot drinks are fine. However, this is where personalized coaching comes in a bit more, and collecting data really comes in a bit more, because then it's like, well, I eat well, don't know why I'm not losing weight, And then when we look at it a bit more detail, it's like, you didn't tell me that you were having 3 cups of tea a day, 4 cups of coffee, and when you have a coffee, you froth your milk every time. Not that that's a bad thing, by the way, but you have quite a lot of milk in there. Like some of those coffee machines, I think it is an espresso one, not that it's bad, by the way, but they only actually give you like a small coffee quite often, but they're having a big coffee each time, so the rest is milk. It's like that much milk. And I was like, right, okay. So you're telling me that you're having like 1,100, 1,200 calories, but you're actually then having 3 cups of tea and like 4 or 5 coffees in a day. And although, and this is where it comes into it, it's like they were collecting data, but then it was like, actually, there's probably around, I don't know, 400 calories in there that are just sitting there. Hey, Monica. Hey, Rebecca. And now I'm like, okay, that pretty much explains why you're potentially not losing the weight that you want to lose. Just that there. Just that. And it was really interesting because it was like, I think we just found a massive breakthrough. And that might sound really simple. We can talk about gluten, dairy, allergies, intolerances, fasting, blood glucose, all of that. And then we looked at it and it was like, there must be something wrong with my metabolism. You know, I'm doing sessions, but they were still losing weight, by the way. It was just a bit slower than we had imagined for 1,100 calories and quite consistent. But we soon found out they weren't having 1,100 calories. They were actually having probably about 1,500, 1,600 calories. So they're still losing weight on that, which is quite good. But so when it comes to hot drinks, they're absolutely fine, but I would track the milk. And to ensure that you're not just tracking everything and weighing it, like, excuse me, I want a cup of tea, but can you just track that milk? Just add in, like, be honest with yourself, but if you have like 4 cups of tea a day, just maybe add like 100 ml of milk in, so you know that's what I'm having, and just cater for that. If you're someone like this person who has like 4 coffees, which are very milky, and 3 teas, maybe add like 400 calories in. Does make you think, doesn't it? It's funny, like our studio in Marlborough is like, there's no shops like next to it. Whereas in Devizes, we're opposite Costa, we're next to supermarket, Chippenham. You can just nip in across the way and pop out, get some milk, get a coffee. And it's funny, when I'm in the Marlborough studio, I can just go without having milk in the coffee. Because I'm like, oh, I'm not driving anywhere, I'm not getting in the car just for milk, you know. And the amount of calories I actually save there, it's like a meal, right? By the end of the day, if it is like that 400 calories. And it's these small things that sometimes add up. And although this might not seem menopause related, this might not seem perimenopause related, it really is when we consider that sometimes it's like, why am I not losing weight? I swear I used to lose weight before, and actually this can be the reason, the things that add up that we're just not aware of sometimes. Really important thing to consider. Hey Penny, hey Monica. So I hope that sums up that one. So nothing wrong with it, just cater for it basically. But yeah, like everything, the calories still count. Okay, so Kathy asked, missed posting questions on yesterday, wanted to ask if you could post a link, further information, re creatine. Yeah, absolutely. So what I'll do for you, Kathy, I'll put a link to a good review that I have saved on my computer somewhere. Got it. I'll just put it's a nice, quite easy to read review that if you want to go into more detail, then you can quite easily do it because it's got loads of references in. So I'll put that in the comments for you on there, so you can just have a nice little read on there. And I've just sent it to you into Kathy on there as well in terms of creatine. That will be a nice read. So creatine for you, Kathy. Hope that helps. But essentially what I said, that just sums up, and it's about creatine in women, women's health, lifespan for that, and essentially the benefits in terms of bone, the bone function, post-menopause, and restoring bone, also brain, cognitive health. Yeah, so quite an interesting one, especially vegan, vegetarian as well, especially even more important to do. So, and especially with exercise, like I said, at the very least, it'll probably increase your performance in exercise. So, and all this kind of leads into this next part of the question. Hey, Teresa, which was also, if taking a vitamin supplement, is a general multivitamin likely to be suitable or menopause specific? So from my research answer is like, a multivitamin would be suitable. And if I'm perfectly honest, a lot of the like menopause supplements are a little bit marketing galore, gone a bit crazy, and a bit overhyped. However, whether it's placebo or not, I know that they do often contain some ingredients that can help. And I would say trial it. But another question that kind of links in with this is, is it harder to lose weight during this period? Like, straight to the point. Great question, by the way. Hey, Kirsty. And the answer is, physiologically, not really. Like, the calories still count the same. Your fat loss still works the same. Kirsty, help. What do you need help with? Comment, ask your question. That's why we're here. Physiologically, it's the same. Psychological, oh, hello, not help. Oh yeah, that is quite interesting that O is next to P. So if you are writing help or hello, you can quite easily. Anyway, we are here to help though. So it's what we are here at Fruity Fit to help. So physiologically, there is not much difference. Like I said, in terms of the research, in terms of calories burned, the main difference was the calories burned through physical activity, which is obviously something we do. So what they showed was people just exercise less. However, then you ask the question, okay, why did they exercise less? Well, look at some of the symptoms that indirectly can make fat loss harder. Hot flushes, energy levels down, fat distribution, potentially hormonal changes that all impact this. You then throw in bad sleep that we touched on this morning, which then underpins this. And that's like a nice soup for, I'm now hungry, I'm now a bit tired to exercise, I'm going to overcompensate, I'm comfort eating, etc. So indirectly, that could make it harder. So if you can manage the symptoms even 1% better, that's going to have a progress. Whether someone goes on HRT to help with that, whether someone tries a few vitamin supplements, whether we talk about soy for hot flushes as well. At the very least, you're going to increase your protein, whether that's soy yogurt, tofu, and a soy yogurt, whatever. And don't think you have to have 3 portions a day, even though the research showed that. It's about maybe just increasing it, looking at some omega-3 as well. Again, that was another part of it as well, where they look at why do Asian populations have fewer incidences of hot flushes? Well, they seem to have higher soy intake, higher omega-3, and they kind of showed that seems to have a beneficial effect, even in people in the West. So you could argue that it might more be nutrition related than lifestyle, because some people are like, well, maybe it's more lifestyle related. They just walk more, etc., than we do. They exercise more. There's lots of other variables. You could argue as well that we consume more caffeine and alcohol in general than a lot of cultures. So there are then those variables. But in terms of the menopause supplement, they do contain doses that are quite high. So you could argue that some of the multivitamins, they tick the box, but the dose is quite low. So maybe some of the benefits are coming from, they often contain like soy isoflavones, which, as I showed in the research, in terms of the soy intake as well, might help with hot flushes. So yeah, like, and a multivitamin generally won't contain that. So, I mean, try it. I would say if there's a specific symptom you're trying to get hold of, like hot flushes, you can then look at that. Awesome work, Sarah, back from circuit. So on to your question, actually. Any tips for early morning walking, about 4 or 5, and waking up with racing? Oh, early morning waking. I read that wrong. I was like, you're going for a walk at 4 or 5 a.m. That's quite impressive. I'm walking around then. Also, when I'm just falling asleep, suddenly waking up with a jerking, horrible feeling of falling, and wondered if this is normal. I would say, how often does that happen? What do you do pre-bed? What's your caffeine intake like? something that I'm going to call myself out on here is that journaling before bed was always, and I say was because I'm slacking with that. I'm getting back to it at the moment, but was always a really powerful thing for me in terms of what worked well. What's the 3 wins of today? What one thing could you have done better today? You're reflecting on your day, asking questions that you would probably talk to a friend about. And guess what? When you talk to the friend about it, they normally go, I feel so much better now, just, discussing it. I was really stressed out. My mind was racing. You need to be there for you as well. So you're not relying on someone else all the time. Hey, Patricia. And that's a really powerful thing to go through. Okay. So, in terms of waking up 4 or 5, racing thoughts, consider like the journaling, the stress. What do you do when you wake up? Are you stressing about getting back to sleep? How do you know what the time is? Are you checking your phone? That's one thing to consider on there. Maybe consider something like a meditation on there. If it was cramps, you could look at magnesium intake. Magnesium can help with cramp, migraines. You could chase it back to our overall diet, potentially. But I would my first point of call there would be, what's your bedtime routine like? Think about today's task. Are you ticking the boxes to some of those tips in there? Is what I'd say. Keeping your bedroom cool. Are you making sure that you have a no phone time before bed or turning emails off? One of the best things about actually having an Apple Watch is when you set your bedtime alarm clock, it sets like a 30 minutes before, turns off notifications, even on your phone, and just does it automatically. And I can never be bothered to turn it back on. It's funny how we think we're in control of our time, but our environment dictates what we do a lot more than we think. Like the fact that I can't even be bothered to turn off the sleep notifications, which means I don't get notified of anything after a certain time, pretty much sums up how our environment can dictate what we do, right? If I've got an alcohol-free beer here, and I've got some nuts there, I'm probably going to have some nuts, if I'm honest. But because there's no nuts there, I'm just not going to eat them. It's as simple as that. And sometimes we talk about willpower, finite sort, and we talk about willpower like we know exactly what it is and how to manage it, but actually there's quite a few different research hypotheses on willpower. And one of the main things is like our obesogenic environment does make it harder. So the more we surround ourselves, we complain about the aisles, food aisles and chocolate bars at checkouts. But then if we're having chocolate bars on the side of in our kitchen, that's on us, right? And I know, family, etc., leaving them out, but we can almost have a rule then. We've got to have some kind of rule to delay gratification. I will only eat when I sit down. All of a sudden then, we're setting another barricade. I've got to get it, then sit down. Okay, I've got to get it, I've got to put it in a bowl. So Sarah, I'd consider firstly, sleep routine before bed, have a bath, temperature, dark, switch off. When you're waking up, could you meditate? Could you, if you're waking up at 4 or 5, consider, and you're like racing thoughts, have you written down a to-do? Have you written down what you need to get done, your priorities at the moment? Depending on your schedule, have you actually just, depending on what time you go to bed, have you just had enough sleep at that time? It sounds odd, but someone might have went to bed at 9:30. If they wake up at like 5, that's not a bad amount of sleep. So it might be that you get up, and then if you need a nap later in the day, if you can structure that in, or even like a shut eye for 5 minutes, maybe that actually suits your circadian rhythm better, but it's just not the norm. And maybe growing up, you're always told that if you were to sit down, you were lazy. It happens a lot. Like people go, I can't have a nap. That's maybe. Don't call it a nap. Call it a CRP, a controlled recovery period. I'm going to have a controlled recovery period where I just shut my eyes for 5 minutes. If I fall asleep, great. If I don't, fine. So I hope that helps on there, Sarah. Next question. Kirsty, I'm managing the hunger better with protein, perfect, but constantly crave sugar. Any tips? So what do you mean by sugar? few questions on here if you're craving sugar. Know that there's no actually physiological need for sugar. So if you're craving sugar, what are you actually craving? Because there's no actually physiological need for sugar. Like, your body can turn other nutrients to glucose. So is it a craving? Is it a true craving? Like, could you eat an apple? Would that hit the spot? Would be my first. Something sweet like a biscuit. Okay. And if you had the biscuit, would that satisfy the need? Would be my question. Are you craving it because you think you can't have it? That's where one of the biggest issues of cravings comes from the fact that we think we can't have it, or the belief that we think we can't have it. When actually you can give yourself permission to have it, but just know that it's your choice, right? That biscuit might slow down your weight loss if it's calories you don't need, but you're making that choice. You can have it if you want. Does it provide you with the comfort that you thought it would? Yes or no? Is how many do you need to be happily satisfied? Is one enough? 2, 3, 4? Then we make that choice. Like we talked about this morning with the self-sabotage, the cost-benefit analysis. What's the cost of eating the biscuits? What's the benefits of doing it? You make that decision. You're not always going to get it right. And that's okay. Knowing what I know now, what would I do differently next time? That's a question to ask. Hey, Sue. So is it because you think you can't have it? And actually you can have it, right? We're adults. We need to make decisions that come with benefits and drawbacks. And actually when we understand that, like I said this morning about the norm, what does being normal mean? Do we want to be normal? Do we want to fit in? I feel like I'm missing out is something that comes up a lot. And if you feel like you're missing out on what? Because you're always going to be missing out on something, right? You're either missing out on the goals that you keep saying you want, or you're missing out on something. And that might be approval from others. For example, being from an Italian background and going to different families, members' houses and having gluten issues and going, no, nonna, I don't want to eat pasta today. That's like, hey Liz, that's like frowned upon almost. It's like, oh, don't get the approval there. Whereas if I eat it, yes, I'll feel horrendous. Yes, I'll feel quite sick, but I get some approval. Hey, Ola. Does that make sense on there, Kirsty? I'm just going to take a swig of my alcohol-free, gluten-free beer. That's better. So, and something sweet on an evening, like find something that can satisfy that as well. Experiment with that. Like, for example, sometimes if I just want something after dinner, sparkling water, alcohol-free beer, like 76 calories for alcohol-free beer, and that actually just hits the spot for me. But it's finding what works for you and what you're willing to compromise on that. So, that is all the questions. Let me know if that makes sense. On there. Does that make sense? Kirsty? If you're on replay as well, do let me know. Right, and that is all the questions on there. So if you have any other questions, do comment below. Tomorrow, by the way, like I said, Lazy Bum 3.0, we step up the workouts a little bit. And then we bring it all together this week. We simplify it down so you leave with a plan. Because remember, you only get results for done. This is the key thing. Take action. You can leave with a load of information, but it won't do anything. We have to actually take action from this. This is the key thing. Taking action. What am I going to do differently? What am I going to do today, no matter how small, to move me one step in the right direction here? That's the key thing. So, that is all for tonight. Tomorrow, final day already. The weeks are flying by, aren't they? I'm taking another swig of my alcohol-free beer. I always get conscious of the alcohol-free beer. Sometimes I'm like, can I have one like in the morning? Or is that a bit weird now? That's now weird, isn't it? Can I have one during my workout? Given that the research shows that beer is more hydrating than water. I mean, that's just brilliant, isn't it, really? Yeah. So, in terms of mild dehydration, that is. And that's probably because there's probably a bit of sodium in beer. White alcohol-free beer, lower on the calories. And I don't like being hungover. I've got too much to do in the morning. I do drink from time to time if I want to, but if I'm honest, I find that alcohol-free beer is quite good now. And yeah, I actually quite like the taste. So yeah. Penny, really enjoying sparkling water, big lump of ice, perfect. I swear it's all about the glass, right? I put a beer in here, nice and cold, and yeah, I'm good to go. Yes, you could argue it doesn't look, like a typical beer glass. But I like it from there. Okay. Sandra, awesome. Katrina, great stuff. Any questions? Do let me know. Enjoy your alcohol-free beer. Eat your protein. Drink your water. Question your things. Be aware of what you're doing and why. Class tomorrow evening. Watch on replay. Also, can I rewatch the morning videos again after Friday? Yeah, this group will be open until Monday. Okay? So it will be open until Monday. So that's fine. You can catch up over the weekend. So, all good. Thank you, Claire. I'll enjoy my alcohol-free beer. Elderflower cordial in a wine glass. Yeah, that definitely helps. Jackie, all helpful, perfect. Great. Awesome, Julie. I might have 2 alcohol-free beers tomorrow, maybe. Awesome, Claire. So have a lovely evening, early night, and I'll see you later. See you, Lisa. Take care.